put on something to watch. Here, why don't I do this in the background while we watch the Josh video? Speaking of Josh.
It's my turn.
To play
23 minutes.
Duelists, I'm tired. And I hate that I have to make this video right now, but I need to vent. And
I never wanted to ever make this video. I never ever wanted to make this video.
Together, when it went until like 4 a.m. in the morning for me both days. I'm tired of non-games in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I want to talk about that. And the reason why I want to talk about...
Who was the first guy who said non-games in Yu-Gi-Oh? That's such a good term. It definitely wasn't me, but it might have been me.
That right now is because I felt like YCS Anaheim
Me?
was
Yeah, it
one
was
of the
CJ.
worst viewing experiences I've had in a long time when it comes to a Yu-Gi-Oh event, maybe ever. And I'm not talking production quality because that was pretty good, but I'm talking the actual gameplay, and I want to discuss that. I need to vent a little bit about the TCG. Of course, I've recently voiced some concerns with Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel and why I'm taking a break from that at the moment. And I was pretty hyped to get into more TCG content and play more TCG myself. But I'm not going to pretend like the TCG is some magical wonderland without any problems or any issues. So
I remember the Joshua focus on when he was like, we are going to be focusing on TCG for a while. That shit was so funny to me because what he did was he was like, we're going to focus on TCG for a while. And by that, I mean, I am going to bring a GoPro to locals. And that was fucking awesome. I like that a great deal. The like POV.
So I'm here today to talk about that. And maybe that's also why I was very disappointed, especially this weekend from YCS Anaheim, because I was looking forward to the TCG so much, because it was going to be my escape from Master Duel, and because I was actually a big fan of this format going into it. You know, like the pure Draco Tail, pure Yami, pure Mitsurugi three-way format, like was actually looking pretty nice for me, and I had a great time at YCS Lille last week. But it feels like I was watching an entirely different format at YCS Anaheim because all those quote-unquote fair decks, it felt like they didn't exist, or even worse, they existed, but they got completely clapped up by broken floodgates and broken combos. And it's a problem, and I want to talk about a little bit why I think that is.
The vagrants on my phone.
Chronologically, we're going to start in the finals, because that is the match that has the most eyes on it in
this is, I mean, this
tournament.
is it.
And we're going to get into some other examples too. But for YCS Anaheim, let me set the stage for you here, okay? YCS Anaheim finals is between Kamal Crooks and Cameron Neal, two of the most accomplished Yu-Gi-Oh players of all
Two really
time,
good players.
who are both capable of playing some of the best Yu-Gi-Oh you will probably ever witness. Instead, what we get in the finals is the following thing. Kamal wins the dice roll, makes this board through 2 hand traps because he self-rolls away the Fuva and then is still able to make this board under his own roll through the opponent's Ghost Bell on top of that, locking Cameron Neal completely out of playing the game in game 1, which results in Cameron Neal, even though the finals is untimed, so they have no incentive to scoop early, to just pack up his cards immediately once he draws for turn, so not a single card was played on Cameron's turn in this game. It's an Omni Negate through Cyber Dragon Infinity, it's a Ripper Hand Trap Negate, it's Tristaros, and there's an Artifact Mjolnir, which for those of you that don't know what this card does, you summon it to your opponent's side of the field during your turn using Imperial Princess Kunkri, and it locks the opponent out from special summoning anything but artifacts for 2 turns.
Yep.
So,
cool, right?
Cam
Everybody
unable to
loves
play
this
the
card.
game
Really
sure,
cool.
we go to game 2. Game 2, Cam makes this board, which is basically the full Mitsurugi board and the full Yami board in one deck through Inazuna, which causes Kamal to draw his card for turn and pack up his cards and scoop. 0 cards played on turn 2 once again. Game 3, Kamal goes first. Same thing. Starts comboing. At this point, Cam doesn't even get a turn in this match because Cam uses a hand trap, gets called by the grave, knows what's coming, packs up his cards and leaves. The finals of this YCS was 3 turns. 0 cards were played on turn 2, and 2 of the best players in the game basically didn't play any Yu-Gi-Oh with each other, which was pretty frustrating. I was pretty disappointed at this point. Of course, I was watching this live. It was also 4 a.m. in the morning for me, so I decided to just go to bed, wake up, and see how I feel about it. But I still feel pretty bad about it. And I think we're going to start a discussion here on floodgates, broken combos, and I think it all falls under one category, which is non-games in Yu-Gi-Oh! And when I say non-games, this is what I mean. I mean a game basically not happening because one of the players does not have a chance from the beginning. Like, it is not worth playing this game for Cameron Neal. He does not need to be there. He does not need to be part of game 1 and game 3 here. This might as well be a combo tutorial on YouTube by Kamal, where he just shows the cool combo he's found with Christian K9. Or, I mean, he probably hasn't found it, but it's been around for a while now. And I don't know. Of course, this is subjective. But I don't think I'm in the minority here when I say I don't think this is good Yu-Gi-Oh! I do not feel like this is enjoyable to watch. I also don't think it's enjoyable to play this type of Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially if you're on the losing side. But even on the winning side, I feel like it feels kind of dull to do this. It feels like playing solitaire. And I probably wouldn't be making this video if this was the only instance of this happening, you know, because maybe, like, I don't know, Kamal got lucky and Cam got unlucky, and this just, like, non-games happen in card games sometimes. You know, sometimes you just draw a very good hand or a very bad hand, or you just happen to have all the answers or whatever. You know, a Yu-Gi-Oh game being a non-game occasionally is fine, but this weekend, the coverage was full of it. Like, and it's not.
I don't know if we're gonna like talk about specifics, but I think Peeps had a good tweet that's kind of illustrative of this. Let me pull that up real quick. The numbers on this are just fucking unbelievable. In top 8, the player who went first won 10 games. The player who went second won twice. The first one was because of Fuwa loss. The second was because they bricked. After tracking all of day 2 on stream games, excluding the Gemini match and any game won by judge call, 18-4. Going second wins Fuwalos 2, board breaking once, bricking once. The player who goes first won over 80% of the time. So, and for what it's worth, Fuwalos is a frustrating card because it basically reads, you know, if you go second, here's your shot to win. But it's not gameplay that I particularly enjoy. You know, it's a go fish. Board breaking is what I want to see. I want to see a board broken by powerful going second tools. And it's cool to be like, in 22 games, that happened a single time. Okay.
Not just broken combos and locks. It was everything. It was floodgates in every shape and form. You know, like,
yeah.
We see I just want to go through some examples. I brought up some examples from the YCS coverage. Once again, we see the Yami Mitsurugi deck, which is another topic I wanted to get into, is how Yami and Mitsurugi individually, I think, are pretty fine archetypes. But when, for some reason, they work together and make both boards at the same time, which is ludicrous in my opinion, which just teaches us a lesson about archetype design.
Put
and
locks on
needing
things.
proper locks. And I want to reiterate something, because a lot of people, we've seen a lot of Mitsurugi hybrids popping up, especially in recent weeks. And I want to say that I think both things can be true. On the one hand, these inventions, these deck lists, like the Triff list that he won the YCS with, or the Jeff Jones list that he played at this YCS, where he combined K9 with Mitsurugi because he found a bridge, how K9...
I want to say I've seen a little bit of this video, and this is the point I want to stress. Like, if you don't take anything else away from this video, this specific sequence is so absolutely mission critical to think about.
Noroi can be a starter for Mitsurugi, and basically you do the full K9 combo, including Ripper, and then you get the Mitsurugi combo on top of that. These innovations, these deck building, like, this is crazy impressive. These are impressive creations. The Triff deck is also very impressive. Finding those synergies between the Nouvelle cards and the Mitsurugi cards and the Yami cards is nice. That is cool. That is an interesting part of Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck building for sure. But the gameplay it provides is not interesting, because you make these boards and you won the game. Congratulations.
Yeah. So for some people, Yu-Gi-Oh!, you know, in quotes, is an exercise in putting together a powerful deck before the event. There's two, I think, fundamental skills that are tested in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's deck building, which happens prior to the event. It tests your ability to be able to predict a metagame, to build accordingly, and to innovate on lists in such a way that other people won't be able to, right? And the Triff list, for instance, is a perfect example of this. Playing that Nouvelle Miracle Raven package put him over the top of other people who were playing similarly engine-focused decks, right? There is a second skill, which is in-game decision-making. And that skill was rewarded in the format prior, Josh, in which it wasn't like the goo that was winning events. It was the ability to consistently execute a game plan while accounting for as many counters as possible. I much prefer that second type of gameplay, because the first type of gameplay is really cool to sit down in theory and lab out a deck. That's awesome. But then when you go to an event, you spend 14 hours either winning into the sun or bricking. It's like the gameplay that results from that skill being tested is so fucking boring.
And it's not just these combo decks. It's also, I mean, this exact match, literally fast forward a couple minutes, this is the board that Mitsurugi made, going first. We activate Dimensional Fissure, we search Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo with Gallant Granite, we normal summon it, and we have an Omni Negate trap for the Lightning Storm. I think this is a problem, and I think it's been a problem for a long time, and I'm honestly getting frustrated with the like, what's it called? Just their unwillingness to do anything about this. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I've been pretty vocal about my my dislike of some recent archetype designs, especially in 2024. But a badly designed archetype does not typically discourage me from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because archetypes come and go. You know, like, sure, they made Snake Eyes. I didn't like the format, but Snake Eyes is gone now. And that's always what happens, of course, because new archetypes get printed. They want us to play the new archetypes. So eventually the old archetypes get hit. That is natural in Yu-Gi-Oh! So a couple bad archetypes don't get me personally discouraged, because I know, or at least I usually believe in the fact that, you know, better times will come. You know, you don't like this certain archetype right now, there's going to be better archetypes in the future, which is true at the moment. I think 2025 archetype design, for the most part, is pretty nice. You know, I like the Justice Hunters archetypes, except for the fact that Ripper is just promoting hand trap negates and combos. But, like, you know, I'm a fan of pure Mitsurugi, I like pure Yami, I love Draco Tail. Like, the archetypes in 2025 are cool. But what's the point of having fair archetypes when the decks that are winning are the decks that are doing this. And even the fair
Yeah.
archetypes, quote unquote, are not designed carefully enough. So they have synergies with, like, you know, searchable fossil dyna. And
There's an interesting back and forth between, let me pull up Triff, between Triff and Mist on Twitter. Here, hold up. Let me see if I can find it. He's been posting all day. Says Yu-Gi-Oh is the greatest it's ever been. Do not listen to the doom and gloom. 31 total rounds and back-to-back YCSs. Guess how many FTK decks I played? 1. Alex in top 8. 30 meta decks, Yamimitsu, Lunalight, Crystron, VS are not FTK decks. I guess I'd push back on some of these. They're decks that everyone should be prepared for and are beaten. They've existed forever. You will most likely play 1 per tournament. People will complain regardless, but I'd like the new players not to get discouraged by that. This is one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh formats of all time and the most fun I've ever had playing Yu-Gi-Oh. So Herman shows up and says, how do you make of it then that 6 of the top 8 decks were FTK decks with only about 1% of total entrants? I guess the argument here would be like, sure, maybe the FTK decks aren't super populated in Swiss, but most people are bad at Yu-Gi-Oh! And are bringing decks that aren't the best in the room. When it comes to the top players, they all brought a deck with an FTK element. So doesn't that prove that the FTK is the best thing you can be doing, even if you don't encounter it particularly often? And so Triff goes, I wish the FTKs were banned too, right? But like, that's kind of the argument, right? So he talks a little bit about like, well, the best players rise to the top because, you know, the format is skillful in a lot of ways. And I think that's a different conversation. I do think this format, regardless of the non-games, is skillful. Like, especially deck building rewards skilled players. You know, it turns out a lot of the skills that reward people in formats where you in-game interaction is super important also reward players who can deck build because those players are usually the same people, right? But here's like, you know, 2 of the best players are the players in finals. And Herman goes, listen, who cares about player skill? Here you are talking about, I wish the FTKs were banned too. No reason to be upset at people who are saying the exact same thing as you, that they also want the FTKs banned. Like, that's the thing is, like, there is a good format here somewhere. They're just occasionally, especially in Top Cut, are matches that make you go, ugh. And those suck.
you can slap Dimensional Fissure and everything because that card is legal. And I don't know, man. And it's not even just the top meta decks. And it's not just a few examples. I have a couple prepared. You strap in. Top 8 of this YCS. Alex Bergeron against Steven Trifonowski. Once again, 2 players probably capable of producing some very, very high quality Yu-Gi-Oh! What happens? Alex wins the dice roll, goes first with Onomat Ryzeal, a rogue deck, mind you, pretty much.
A rogue deck. I mean, it's so irritating to be like, Onomat Ryzeal is a rogue deck. However, it is still able to play with the big boys because it has access to Ouroboros, which is a fucking hand loop for 2, and Protoss, which is a floodgate.
Tier 2, basically. Goes first, uninterrupted. 4 material detonator eclipse twins attached. Ryzeal trap face down. Ryzeal cross up on the board, which is already a respectable pure Ryzeal board. You might think that's really strong. But that's not it. We've also hand looped 2 cards with Evil Swarm Ouroboros. That's why 2 cards are in Triff's graveyard here. And we've
he
also
hit the
searched
best 2
Archnemesis
cards
Protoss,
both
a card
times.
that lets you declare any attribute basically, and your opponent is unable to use that attribute. So we on top of that also have hand trip for 2 and a floodgate and a full Ryzeal board. Game 2, Triff goes first and wins the game off of the back of 2 dimensional barriers over the course of multiple turns. It's hard to convey
Awesome.
this in one screenshot, and I didn't want to watch through the entire thing, but double dimensional barrier essentially lets Triff beat cards like Golden Lockbird in this game too. But we saw very little actual gameplay from this. We saw a Yami combo on turn 1 under roll that got met with an evenly matched, and what could have been an interesting game maybe after was met with double D barrier into top deck Habakiri, and then the Mitsurugi combo finished the game. And then game 3, same story. Goes first, double hand rip with Ouroboros, puts up Protoss, puts up Cross, puts up an Omni Negate counter trap for Onomat that we also searched. We're going first, and Triff tries to play into it because there's no timer, and it might as well try because it's the last match, or the last
He drolled as well, right?
game of your tournament if you lose, but there was no real Yu-Gi-Oh! Being played. He just activated a couple of cards, got them all negated, or they didn't matter because he was under Protoss and then lost. And it's pretty disheartening, honestly. And we also saw, for example, reigning world champion Julian Cajon, round 3 feature match, plays against pure Mitsurugi. So I'm like, okay, Mitsurugi against Draco Tail, that's a pretty hype matchup. We got a pretty good game 1 here, admittedly, and that's another topic because of most of these things, not all of them, but a lot of these things are happening post-side, which is why I feel like the side deck as a concept should probably be reevaluated as well, because let's be real here.
Folks, I don't want to be like I was saying it way back when, but it was an adventure branded format. I think Pack floated a similar idea and I hopped off it, but it was like every issue I had with that format came from the side deck. The dimensional barriers, the floodgate hand traps, the floodgates. And I was like, what if we just played best of one. Is it that bad? Like, it buffs some decks that operate on a different axis, like Odeon or Labyrinth, but like, so?
The side deck is a cool concept, but people are just using it to side deck the most crazy auto wins in the game, because why wouldn't they? Let's be real. Let's
It
not hate the
becomes
players
far
for playing
too
these cards.
coin flip. I mean, so let me kind of walk you through this concept, right? What do you mean it becomes far too coin flip, right? So if you think a best of one is too coin flip, how is that alleviated by best of three? Because what's going to happen is, in your first game, player who wins the coin flip is going to win an outsized amount of the time. Game 2, you can resolve this disparity by boarding into cards that, for one reason or another, read if you go or second game, you have the opportunity to go first, right? So you have an outsized win percentage. Third game, you're going to have to go second. And to beat that outsized win percentage the first player has, you can board into cards that functionally say, if you go second, you win. Like huge board breakers or floodgate hand traps, Drolls and Lockbird and shit like that, or silver bullets, that regardless of the fact that they equalize the difference between going first and second, produce a non-game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So it sucks to be like, well, best of one has an outsized win percentage. The solution to this is to make us play a superfluous game 3 decided by a card that reads, if you're going second, you win. That's not really that enjoyable. Ideally, none of those cards would be necessary because the cards that make going first so powerful wouldn't be legal. And we had this format. It was Josh. It just happened, and now it's gone.
Cards, okay? Like, if I can activate Dimensional Barrier to just completely win a game, why wouldn't I? So we see Julian going first in game 2, gets hit with a Dimension Shifter, can't play the game. So what do you do if you can't play the game? Yeah, right. You set a Dimensional Barrier and make it so that your opponent can't play the game, and then win the turn after, because now you're basically going first with a battle phase.
Yeah.
And then game 3, Hanzi here on Mitsurugi activates Dimensional Fissure, doesn't have a play next to it even, but the Dimensional Fissure eventually is enough to win him the game. And Julian doesn't matter. Like the reigning champion, you lose to Dimensional Fissure pass because it doesn't matter who you are and how good you are. When your deck loses to Dimensional Fissure, you are not able to play the game. You can't show us how good you are at playing the game because you are not allowed to play the game. And the funniest in quotation marks, is what happened right after this feature match. I'm gonna show you what happened. So they go back to the casters after the winners interview, and then this happens. There's a backup feature, by the way.
We have our bonus feature match going on right now, so we're gonna jump into some more Yu-Gi-Oh!
First up, shouts out to the backup feature. Super happy that they have that. Like, holy shit, how long did it take them to get to where SCG was like 14 years ago? But shouts out to the backup feature. Let's see what it is.
Action, so let's just jump right into it. It looks like we are in game number 3. We have Tamir taking on Jesse, and Tamir's playing a deck that you're a pretty big fan of.
Spoilers. Tamir won this game. Different dimension ground, another entry into the dimension family, within the span of 10-15 minutes, we saw multiple games decided, multiple turns being skipped by the entire array of dimension cards. Dimension Shifter was used to skip Julian's
Send him
first
to
turn,
the other dimension,
right
man.
back with Dimensional Barrier. Won game 3 off of the back of Dimensional Fissure. Backup feature match. Looks like an interesting board state. Immediately 2 seconds into the match, a different dimension ground is flipped, the game ends. And this was really, for me, overshadowing all of the good Yu-Gi-Oh! That can be played in this current format. And was played at this YCS. There probably was a lot of good Yu-Gi-Oh! Being played at the YCS, but the majority of the things that we saw were this. And I was very disappointed because I had high hopes in.
I mean, I know I can't mention other card games. I know I'm not allowed to mention other card games because then everyone goes, oh, no other card games. Everyone hates when I mention any other card game that has had this issue and resolved it. It was really hard for me to this entire weekend be casting 2.5 days of Alestrals. And the current frustration with Alestrals players is there is one card that acts sort of like a floodgate. We saw it determine the outcome of one match on stream. And the talking point from that event was like, man, kind of rough that this card determined the outcome of an event. I hope action is taking regarding that individual, right? After the event, I hop on the Anaheim VOD to see what type of Yu-Gi-Oh! Was played, and I see that this total anomaly of a match that we fucking hated casting is being replicated every single fucking round of Anaheim. It's like, what if every player was on 3 Helios's Chariot Ride? It's crazy, and it won't be fixed for months. It will never be fixed. There is not a solution to this. This is the frustrating part. It's like people are like, well, maybe next format they'll move Dimension Shifter from 1 to 0. Maybe Anti-Spell will go from 1 to 0. Maybe Different Dimension Ground will be semi-limited. There is only one solution. That is to use the fucking Trinity format ban list, where they sat down and they said, all of these cards are banned because regardless of their power level or utility, there is a world in which they produce a non-game. You're banning dog shit like Ally of Justice Quarantine, like Angel 07, like Anti-Human Intelligence Messiah, because the alternative is this. People go down the list of bullshit until Jeff Jones can figure out a way to bridge into Mitsurugi so he can get the requisite level 4 monsters on the field to go Gallant, Granite, Normal Summon, Pachycephalo. That's the only other option. And the crazy part is they know this, because all of these cards, like fucking 50% of these cards, showed up on the Genesis list at a hundo. Angel 07, 100 in Genesis. For some reason, they can't pull the trigger in the TCG, and so we get to watch this.
In this format, I was and still am a big fan of some of the recent ban list decisions that they've made. But the problem is that it doesn't matter how good you handle certain archetypes or how well you address certain problems if you leave these problems completely unaddressed. And
same with MD event ban list. Exactly. Every Master Duel event, for as much as I talk shit on Master Duel, every Master Duel event, they respond to the bullshit people were doing in the previous one by boxing it out. And that's why a significant amount of these Master Duel events aren't fun, because like playing Xyz just means you pick the best Xyz deck and you launch it into each other, but it isn't being determined by fucking horseshit. It isn't being determined by floodgates, by synchro zones, by True Draco every single event, you know? Like, I don't know.
Barrier. And it's just not happening. And look, cards like Dimension Shifter, there can be only one. Rivalry of the Warlords, all of those cards limited at 1 at the moment are pretty frustrating. And I still don't understand why they're at 1, but them being at 1.
This is a classic if the card produces a bad gameplay loop, why did it go to 1? Why not just ban it? What is the now when you lose to There Can Be Only One in Vanquish Soul K9, this was happening during Josh format actually. When you lost to There Can Be Only One in Vanquish Soul K9, you went, oh darn it. Well, I guess you drew the one of. Whoops. The outcome is the same as if it was a 3.
1 at least means we don't see them very often. You know, every once in a while, a Dimension Shifter pops up on stream, and I'm like, why is this legal? But I guess a Rivalry pops up, same thing or whatever.
You can,
but at the moment,
you can do better.
We're in a format where Dimensional Barrier basically hits every single deck that's playable, and so everybody feels like everyone's playing 3 Barrier and 3 Thrust. So it feels almost like there's more games being played under Floodgates post side right now than without Floodgates. I'm pretty sure. Like it's actually insane. And the thing that makes it so weird to me is because I cannot think of a reason. I don't know why. Like, because typically whenever I have discussions like this, you know.
The reason I've always seen floated is that there have to be cards to make up a skill gap. If you are a newer or a less skilled player, you have to feel like you have a shot against players that are just capital B better than you. And a lot of these cards, There Can Be Only One, Floodgates, equalize that skill gap. I don't have a problem with that philosophy, but surely there's a way to do that with cards that are more fun to play. Other cards that do that, board wipes. Raigeki reduces the amount of skill necessary in a game, right? Because it's an answer all for a significant amount of decks. That card's way more fun to activate than Dimensional Barrier.
People throw arguments out there like, oh, corporate greed or whatever, they just want your money. Why is this? This is not making the money. This is making the game unattractive to play.
This is the thing. I mean, we always say, you know, the motivating force behind Yu-Gi-Oh! Is extracting money from its customers. And that is their intended goal, right? But Jillian says this all the time. We have this conversation ad nauseum. Jillian says this all the time. If that is true, why do they leave so much money on the table? Yu-Gi-Oh! Makes more money year on year, right? And has been for a while now, ever since, you know, the population kind of exploded during COVID. But why is there are so many ways they could capitalize on player interest and player preference that would grow the game massively, that would make them a shitload of money, and they don't. Like, it's weird. Their motivation is to make money, obviously, but they don't execute it in a lot of places like this. Like, if you're a new player considering playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And you watch these matches, you feel like fucking shit. You're like, why would I pick this over Magic, you know? You look at a standard match, you're like, VV, whatever. You watch this, you're like, oh, fucking floodgate. Same shit. At least with VV, I get to play a land and cast a card.
People that already play Yu-Gi-Oh! Are frustrated by this. At least, I mean, I don't want to speak for every single person in the community, but I feel like the overwhelming majority would like those cards to be gone because we want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And these cards don't let us play Yu-Gi-Oh! But like, which archetype is selling because Dimensional Barrier is legal? Which archetype is selling because Dimensional
a
Fissure is legal and
great
whatnot?
point.
Like, it feels like
Great
for every
fucking
archetype,
point.
if you can name a synergy with a floodgate, you can name 5 floodgates that kills it. Like, it's just not fun. And then this does not. I personally look. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh for 20 years, but I cannot imagine anyone who isn't into Yu-Gi-Oh at the moment watching this YCS.
Exactly.
Game 1
exactly.
finals, you know, you don't know much about Yu-Gi-Oh. You watch this, you see the player going first doing solitaire for some time, player going second scoops, other way around, Cameron does some solitaire, Kamal scoops, Kamal does some solitaire and Cameron scoops. Who wants to play Yu-Gi-Oh after this if you're not playing Yu-Gi-Oh already? Who's picking up the game after seeing this? I don't know. Maybe a few people, but I feel like it could be so much more if they actually played interesting Yu-Gi-Oh.
Exactly.
Like if you understand what's going on here, you know this is pretty bad. And if you don't understand what's going on here, I feel like the majority of people would also think this is pretty bad. Because it is very clear here that the player going second has no control in this game whatsoever, no say in the outcome of this game whatsoever. I don't know. I just needed to vent about that. I wanted to put my frustration out there, and I just want you guys to understand that this is coming from a place of love for this game. I feel very passionate about this because I just recently, you know, I'm taking a break from Master Duel right now because I felt like the TCG is so much better.
I feel so bad for Josh. He's like, I'm pivoting my entire channel to be about the TCG. I just feel like unfortunately it's just not a great position to be in Master Duel. The decks aren't fun. The gameplay isn't particularly good. Nothing's changing. I'll pivot to the TCG and its historically best format. 1 month later, it's like, enjoy.
Has so much more potential, and I stand by that. The TCG is at the moment still a better format than Master Duel.
That's a fucking low bar to clear. That's true. Low fucking bar to clear.
People play pure Draco Tail, pure Mitsurugi, pure Yami that are pretty fun when those cards aren't involved, but it could be so much better. Like, why do I have to deal with this being a thing when we could have more good games? You know, why is it only a certain percentage of games that are good? Why can't we maximize that number by getting rid of these cards? And it's like, first of all, I also want to say that I don't want to take away from Kamal's YCS win, 6th YCS win here, by the way, which is
puts him in the running, right? That's tied with Jesse and LeBlanc. That's crazy.
Crazy. Incredible achievement, but I felt pretty bad that after the finals was done, I didn't really feel anything but disappointment in this format. Like, it could have been such a good match of Yu-Gi-Oh, but it was this. And I don't know, like, it's not like they don't know these cards aren't the problem. If you look at Genesis format, by the way, which, by the way, banger.
Here he is, yeah. He's like, yep, and they know it's an issue.
Genesis feature matches over the course of the weekend. Genesis is looking mighty fine, especially in comparison right now. Dimensional Barrier is 100 points in Genesis format. Weird. Protoss, 100 points in Genesis format as well. You name it. A lot of more niche floodgates are 100 points in Genesis
niche
format.
Chinese babies.
On here. It's almost like they understand. Someone somewhere knows that these cards don't provide fun gameplay, but somehow they're...
Okay, I'm gonna make a prediction here, and this is probably... It's probably ridiculous, but I think it is Japan. I think it's Japan. And that sounds bad to say, right? Like, I know that sounds like totally America-centric, right? It sounds totally like xenophobia. It's totally jingoistic. But I think that the fact that Japan maintains a final say over everything means that anything that is changed stateside goes through so many layers of approval that it would be impossible for them to put together what has to be done, which is a ban list that includes like 1,000 things. Like, it just won't happen. It can't happen. Because, like, all it takes is one guy in a suit 5,000 miles away to be like, no, like, I don't think so, actually. And then it doesn't happen. The reason I think this is because Genesis clearly is the American side getting a long leash. And everything so far has been conducted in such a fundamentally different way and such a better way by a lot that I can't think it's anything but that.
Legal in the TCG. And searchable for the most part. You know, Protoss super easily accessible. The artifact lock super easily accessible. Dimensional Barrier is at 3, and you have 3 copies of Thrust to punish people for hand trapping you, for trying to interact with you. How dare you stop my combo? I'm gonna Thrust for a D-Barrier real quick to make sure you can't play. It's rough. It's honestly rough. I felt pretty discouraged this morning when I woke up after this weekend, because I'm thinking, like, we have YCS Bologna in 6 weeks. No major changes to the format. People are already throwing words like emergency ban list through the room, which, I mean...
And Bologna, by the way, it will be a European event. These European events are super big and have people from a whole vast array of different perspectives when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! It may look very different. I do want to let you know. It may look very different. You may not see a lot of stuff, but I think at the top tables you will see a lot of this shit again.
I mean, I feel like it would be very welcome, but I don't know how likely it is. And I just wanted to voice my concerns, because I think this is pretty discouraging. because this is not related to many of the archetypes. It's mostly related to the, like, people have been asking for Dimensional Barrier to be banned since 2017. That's 8 years and nothing's happened. We continuously voice concerns about these cards, and I don't want to say nothing happens because some of these cards were hit, but it feels like they're just not being harsh enough on these cards because there's always something to replace these cards. Some of these cards only go to 1. Some of these cards are banned way too late. And it's weird. It's weird to me that basically we're just playing turn skip and FTKs. What felt like at this YCS like 50% of the time. I'm repeating myself at this point. But I'm very passionate about this topic because I want to play the TCG so much. But right now, I'm questioning whether this is going to change. Because I'm realizing this has been a thing for a long time now, besides the archetypes, you know, like, we can discuss whether Mitsurugi should have had better locks, which, yes, it should have. Like, Mitsurugi plus Yami, in terms of gameplay, should not go together. These two decks are fine individually, but when you mash them together, they're too powerful. So that's something they need to take better care of in the future. But this is something you can handle with archetype design. Just like, okay, this was messed up. Mitsurugi should have had a reptile lock or something, but just design better archetypes in the future. All right, you know, these are, like I said earlier, archetypes come and go. But the philosophy behind not handling floodgates and searchable locks and crazy combos properly, pretty frustrating.
Remember when I posted a philosophy style list that got shat on all over Reddit, and now here we are? Crazy. I mean, you were right. You were right. Those cards should have been banned.
Frustrating, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that just felt like a whole lot of Genesis advertisement over the course of the weekend. Because
no,
Genesis
I mean, if you are American, I will say this: if my crack theory is true, and that the Genesis thing represents a disconnect between the American side of Konami and the Japanese side of Konami, this event was nothing more than a complete and total validation of the American perspective, insofar as every Genesis match that was on camera looked fucking fun and got me excited about the cool decks available in the format. And every TCG event, despite the fact that I have been one of the biggest TCG dick suckers for the past 3 months, shilling people this format, looked like a game I do not want to be playing.
To this, and I don't know if it's just me growing out of modern Yu-Gi-Oh over time, but it was pretty discouraging.
It really isn't, dude. It really isn't. It is not a Yu-Gi-Oh has left me behind type shit. It's not a Yu-Gi-Oh has left me behind type shit. It's, I mean, it is just like, there have been double digits of formats like this, and the reason it feels so jarring now is we just had one that wasn't. It's like, here we are again.
And
or this.
Right now I'm questioning whether Genesis might be a better place for me. But anyways,
that's crazy, right? The Master Duel World Champion is like, well, you know, Master Duel probably isn't for me because it's bad right now. Well, and now that I think about it, the TCG probably isn't for me. It's bad right now. I guess I'll play this casual format, where if I go to a YCS, I can do a playoff for a giant card, because that's the only thing that is even enjoyable to play. That's what frustrates me about the mentality we saw in the ongoing, like, your Reina DB Grinder Triff posting, is that this, like, epic mentality about being the card game warrior or whatever. I think for some people that works, and like, if for you can survive off the thrill of competition and nothing else, that's fine. I mean, that's your prerogative. But why get that from Yu-Gi-Oh? Why not get that from poker? Why not get that from, like, tests of physical skill? Play fucking competitive tug of war for all I care. The reason I play Yu-Gi-Oh isn't because I want to win something. It's because Yu-Gi-Oh is the best game in the world, and I want to play it. And during times where it isn't very good, that makes me frustrated because it makes me think, well, shit, if all I'm doing is chasing the thrill of competition, why am I doing it here? Why aren't I doing it somewhere else, you know? There has to be an element of fun in these games, and I think Josh, the literal world champion, is running up against that and being like, I don't know, man. Like, is it worth playing the game that he is better at than any other human because of how fucking lame it is?
Let me know what you think. Sorry for the negative tone, but once again, coming from a place of love for the game, and I would love for the game to be played. And once again, I want to congratulate Kamal on the 6th YCS win. Insane performance.
Huge win. I mean, I think we do need to separate. This is completely different than a discussion about the skill involved. Like, there is skill involved in this format. There's skill involved in metagaming, in deck building, and in actual play at the physical event. Kamal absolutely deserves this, and it's another stone in a ring that now rivals the best players in the game. I mean, that's really something special. you can also say, I think the games that were played were boring to watch.
And I'm sorry that this format dynamic is overshadowing this win. At least for me personally, it's overshadowing it a little bit. But
I think about this, again, to go back to Alestrals, when Swolax won his first event, it was during a period when the best deck by miles was Thunder Nexus, and he won with Thunder Nexus. And the event became a it became like a how do I want to say this? A discussion on if Thunder Nexus was okay instead of a celebration of someone who had never won an event winning an event. And I mean, it sucks to see now Kamal can be safely considered like a top 3 player in Yu-Gi-Oh history. That said, all people are talking about is like, ooh, fucking Floodgate is bad. That sucks. Like, that fucking sucks. He should be allowed to celebrate his win. It should be a big fucking deal. I don't know. You can blame the community too, but of course, I think you can also blame Konami for leaving all these cards legal.
But definitely a deserving winner, regardless of this, and also for Cam for making it to the finals. 2 amazing players in the finals. I wish we could have seen you guys play some awesome Yu-Gi-Oh, but once again, it's not their fault. Don't hate the player. Criticize the game instead, and hope it's getting better. Peace.
I don't know. I like me a stream of consciousness ramble from Farfa, and God knows I make them. Life depends on it a significant amount of the time. But there really is nothing like a one-take Josh ramble. Like, he just gets in front of the camera and talks for 20 minutes. Like, that was a video, I guess I would say, in which you can really feel his frustration. And it's not particularly structured in any meaningful way. He's like, I'll pull up 3 games, and I'll just talk about what happened in those 3 games. It really is just a guy venting. And I think it's validating for a lot of players, certainly for me, to hear someone go, you're not crazy. Top players think this format is boring. I feel so bad for Josh, because so much of his sell for like his channel and his stream is he is better at this game than almost any living person. And it's become this Faustian bargain where the game is just not nearly as fun as it was. I don't know, man. Josh is the only top player saying this, though. He's an outlier. That's just not true at all. I mean, we looked at Herman saying it, Jesse saying it. Like, I think there are a lot of people saying that the format has bad elements, but there's still skill tests within it. I think that's a different thing than what these people are saying. I don't think those two are really in conflict.